In this video, I'm going to see if the free Lecto plugin from Poulin can sound like my Mesa Boogie Trem-O-Verb 2x12 combo. My Trem-O-Verb is an early version of the dual rectifier design and is a 2-channel amp with 2 different modes on each channel. I have a clean and vintage high gain on the orange channel, and on the red channel I have blues and modern high gain. The Lecto plugin is an emulation of a dual rectifier, but instead of a 3-channel amp like the classic dual rect design is, it is also a 2-channel amp with an orange and a red channel. The difference from my amp being that there are 3 modes to choose from on each channel, and they are vintage, raw, and modern. The controls for each amp are pretty similar with gain, treble, mid, bass, and presence. The Lecto does have an extra resonance control to add or cut some low frequencies that I don't have on my amp. I'm also assuming the Lecto plugin was created set to bold and diode for the rectification on the back of the amp that they were emulating. This is also how I have my Trem-O-Verb set up and is pretty common for harder rock tones. The lack of a clean channel is interesting, but I guess they figured people would be using this mainly for the modern high gain sound. And as it's totally free, I can't complain too much. If you wish to download this plugin, I'll leave a link in the description down below. To try and keep this test fair, I'm going to use the exact same signal path every time. This is starting with my PRS SE Hollowbody 2 Piezo. I have a video all about this guitar and the link is in the description and a pinned comment down below as well. The signal then runs through my pedal board, and if you are new here, I'm a huge Incubus / Mike Einziger fan, and so my pedal board reflects that. I also have a video of how to order your pedals if you too are a huge Incubus fan just like me. The link for that is also in the description and in the comments below too. From the output of my pedal board, there are a couple of differences. For my physical Trem-O-Verb amp, I go into the input of the amp, but the signal is not coming out of the speakers. It's actually coming out of the 2 notes Captor X load box, and from the captor into my audio interface via an XLR cable. For the Lecto plugin, I come out of my pedal board and go straight into the DI of my audio interface, which is acting as the input of the virtual amp. Having the load box on my Trem-O-Verb allows me to use impulse responses via my DAW on my computer, as I need to do the same with the Lecto plugin as well. This is essentially allowing me to use the Trem-O-Verb as a head and pair it with a virtual cabinet, and the same is true for the Lecto plugin. To keep all of this software totally free, I'm using Pulse by Lancaster Audio for my impulse response loader for the Lecto plugin and for my physical Trem-O-Verb. A link to this is in the description of the video. To complete the chain, I'm using a ReEQ plugin to add a slight high pass and low pass filter. And finally, I have a saturation dial from Softube that, you guessed it, is also free. This basically adds in some extra harmonic content. It emulates gear such as microphones being plugged into analog outboard gear like mic preamps and channel strips on big mixing consoles. I will leave the links to these plugins in the description of the video too. The only part you may wish to spend money on are the IRs themselves. I'm using a couple of different ones for this comparison. One is a vintage 30 loaded 4x12 Mesa cab from OwnHammer's Core Tone bundle, and the other is a vintage 30 loaded 2x12 open back cab by Celestion. Since I have the Trem-O-Verb combo, this uses 2 12-inch vintage 30 speakers, and the cab has an open back, so it makes sense to compare. The 4x12 version helps me get more meaty tones for riffs from the Incubus albums Science and Make Yourself, and the 2x12 version helps me get closer to the Morning View era kind of sound. To help make this clearer, I will put up on the screen what IR is being used at which time, along with amp settings and any pedals that are being used as well. With all of this said, let's start this experiment and play through some riffs. So, can the free Lecto plugin sound like my Mesa Boogie Trem-O-Verb? It actually gets really close. The plugin does a great job of getting that aggressive dual rectifier tone on the red channel with the modern mode engaged. I was also really impressed with the raw mode on the orange channel for some nice clean tones. The only criticism I have is the Lecto's orange channel on the vintage mode. To me, the Trem-O-Verb just sounds sweeter in the lower and upper mids. The intro to Privilege really highlights this, but with a bit more tweaking, I may be able to get closer. I didn't want to spend too long tinkering with the plugin as days can be lost doing this. So overall, the Lecto plugin is incredibly well made, and considering it's totally free, this is even more impressive. Spending a little more time may yield better results on the Lecto's orange channel set to vintage mode to achieve that sweet mid-range that my Trem-O-Verb has. As good as this plugin is, I certainly won't be getting rid of my Trem-O-Verb anytime soon, especially as playing it through its own speakers is just heavenly. So what did you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. If you want to know more about my Trem-O-Verb combo, you can watch the video on screen now. Goodbye, my friends.